Hello everybody, Demon R here, with a lap guide for DGT League's THOR Race 8 from Yamagiwa and Miyabi 2. Longest track I think we're using in this series, and a circuit we've not raced on before in DGT League, at least not in this. Actually no, sorry, we have, my mistake, we have, it was a long time ago. And whatever car we drove it in then, it'd be very different to this car. Okay, I'm not going to go through slowly mentioning corner by corner where I'm braking and stuff like that. What I'm going to try and do is just drive laps as quickly as I can, race pace, and talking through as I do it. Now, we're looking at about 2 minutes a lap, so we're going to have 2 minutes of an out lap, and then 2 minutes on a faster lap. And I'm going to do a few more laps. What I will try and do is I will try and get as much information in the first lap, so if people don't want to watch multiple laps, you should at least get all the information on that first lap. So the out lap, first lap, is where I'll try and point out things to look for, braking points, stuff like that. Okay, let's go. Right, turn one's braking point, 75 meters. So on the right hand side here, obviously it's between the two. Third gear corner, turn in at the end of the curb on the right. Don't get greedy on the throttle on the way in. Next corner is a fourth gear corner, so we'll be up to fifth, brake at the 50. Fourth gear, carry the speed through the corner up the hill. Brake at the start of the curb on the left, second gear corner. We don't want to go deep here. We don't want to go too fast either while steering. Okay, no fuzz zone. So we're going to come out down here as fast as we can, and we're going to try and get the car straight here to brake for a second gear late apex. Well, be careful of running wide, don't go on the power too soon. So ignore the first apex, go for the second. End of curb on the left is where we turn in. You can do this just about flat out, but I'd put a courtesy lift in to save your tyres. Then we're absolutely flat out. Then we're going to brake at the start of the curb, third gear. Patient with the throttle, give it a quick blast. Curb on the left, out of shot before that goes on the brakes for this left-hander. Third gear I would recommend through there to save the rear tyres. Okay, now we're into a flat out corner. I'll recommend holding fifth, turn in at the end of the curb on the left. Hold fifth until you get to 170 mile an hour. Once you get to 170, upshift. So if you're in slipstream, get to 170, then upshift. Flat out down the hill, nice and small amounts of steering. Brake at the 50, only a tiny bit. We want a late apex. So pinch the apex late. That'll give you the fastest run through the corner, but there are different lines through that corner. Okay, so brake in at 75 meters. Turn in at the end of the curb, wait. Don't get greedy on the throttle on the way in. Get greedy on it on the way out. 50 meters, fourth gear. On the power nice and early. Get it over to the left, brake at the start of the curb. Second gear. We want to try and get off the brakes as early as we can. Also, you might want to upshift early for third. Flat out, but we want to try and get the car straight when we pinch the apex here. Brake quickly down those gears. I got a bit deep, so I want to brake a little bit earlier. I'm missing the second apex. Okay, so turn in at the end of the curb, but don't turn in aggressive because it tightens, and that's why you might need to do a lift or two. Now we go flat out. And this is race pace driving, by the way. Brake at the curb. Third gear. Patient on the way in. Flip of throttle. Curb on the left before it's out of shot on the brakes. We can hold third gear. Nice and tight apex. I mean, it may be quicker to do it second gear, but it'll look after the tyres more doing it in third. Flat out. Turn in at the end of the curb. Hold fifth. Again, late apex. Get to 170 or on the crest and upshift. Tiny amounts of steering here. dab a brake at the 50, downshift, smooth with the steering, pinch it late. Okay, so we'll do that again. So braking at the 75, turning at the end of the curb, patient on the way in, greedy on the way out, up to 5th, brake at the 50 for 4th gear, and it is only a dab of the brakes, but it's a full dab. Over to the left, brake at the start of the curb, stay on the brakes till we're slow enough. Cautious on the power in 2nd. Okay, you're going to brake a little bit earlier this time, but we still want to get the car straightened up. So, straight, missed the first apex, took it in for the 2nd, much better line, but I got greedy on the throttle. So don't get greedy on the throttle. Again, turn in at the end of the curb, but don't turn in too tight because the corner tightens later on. And again, we're not having to steer loads here. Okay, we'll brake at the start of the curb, 3rd gear. Brake before the end of the curb. Go down to 2nd if we're running a bit deep. We'll be careful of getting on the power too soon. It will spin if you're steering too much. Now you'll notice tyre wear, the front is taking the punishment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep going to try and get 5 laps out of these tyres. That'll get us 10 minutes into the race for a 3-stop strategy. And we'll see what difficulties we may have. And the way we'll end up working around it is the braking points will be the same, but we may have to get on the power a little bit later, stay on the brakes a little bit longer. What we don't want to do is steer more. And the other thing we'll end up doing is in the higher speed corners we may end up having to do a lift or 2. And that's something you can do down here, lift, then get on the brakes. Don't get too greedy on the throttle here. It's a horrible corner. They got off camber, turning tight. I'm too tight here, I'll need to lift. If I don't, I'll run wide. Started braking a little late there and there, so I'll drop it to 2nd because I was going deep. Noticed the rear's got very light on me there though. Now the initial turn-in grip isn't there in the high-speed corners, so a little lift as you turn in will help. Dab a brake, down 1, just feather that throttle to keep that inside line and try and not run any wider than that. So lap time wise, that time loss is fine. I was a little late on the brakes there. Now given a look at the tyre wear, I would probably move the brake bias to the rear a little bit. Just to try and give me that a little bit more front end grip for a little longer. I'm going to do a little lift. I got on a too tight a line again, I've had to lift again. See, it's an interesting thing with the fast corners. I'll try and show it again in a moment. So as I said, we're looking at trying to get 5 laps out of it for a 3-stop strategy, which would be normal around here. It's a very tyre wearing track. We're on the 5th lap. The time loss is okay for me, and also this is the first lot of laps I've done, so my tyre wear is going to be a little more aggressive. But what I would say is I've still got front end grip in the car, even if my lap time's a bit off. So my braking point's the same, but the time off the throttle is what will differ as the tyres wear, so that you can allow the front end to have the grip. Okay. Right. What I want to quickly show is that there are a couple of different lines through some of the faster corners, but there's difficulties to them. So as the tyres wore on that run, I mentioned about lifting off as you turn in. Right, if you do feel that you haven't got the grip to stay flat out through the corners, then lifting off when you turn in is better than turning in and then having to lift off later around the corner. It's better to lift off when you turn in, have the grip, get on the power, and not have to get off the power again. That's what gives you the faster corner exits. But what you'll find is if you end up on the tighter line through the faster corners, then you're either going to have to lift loads to get the grip to keep the power on the exit of the corner, or you're going to have to be off the throttle again on the exit. And that's what I'm going to try and have a quick look at now. Because this is one of those tracks where people will think you've left the door open, but in actual fact it's the racing line, or what I would call the preferred racing line. And remember folks, this track is in reverse, so the racing line that we can see on the road is for the other direction. For this corner, well, I'll come to that in a minute actually. Right, okay, so let's have a look at the tighter line then, and you can still do it by turning in at the end of the curb. If you turn in too soon, now I've made it flat out, but if I do that again and again and again, there's no way I'll get anywhere close. So what you don't want to do is end up on that tight entry. You can turn in at the same point I've mentioned and still end up on the tight entry if you turn too much when you turn in. And it's the same up here as well. If you turn in loads, you'll end up on the tight line, which, okay, is fine to begin with, but once the tyres have worn, you're not going to be able to do it. And again, it's the same here. I mean, we're not doing it flat out anyway, but look, I'm constantly ending up getting further and further and further away from the curb, and that's not what you really want to do. So, what are you going to do if you're on those tighter lines? Well, lift off more. Right, I mentioned about down the bottom of the hill. You are better off braking earlier and being slower through the first part than being slow through the second part. So down here, you are better off lifting off early, braking early, getting the car slowed down in a straight line, and focusing solely on the exit of the corner. Okay, so if you do turn in early, lift off, and then you'll be able to hold the corner. Because bear in mind, if you're overtaking someone as well, you're going to have to make sure you give them room on your left. Now it'll work in a similar way if you're already on the inside. I mean, if we try taking it flat out now, we may do it, but we had that middle corner where we were drifting away and away and away from the apex curb. And that's where we would end up potentially making contact with the car next to us, and it's the same here. Drifting away, 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 and I've had to really back out of it to leave space on the left. Okay, I'm going to make this the last lap. And I will just show something as well. This hairpin up here, if you're going to overtake up here, be very careful, because you can brake at the same point, get it slowed down, but now you've got to turn so much more that when you get on the power, you could lose the rear end. Don't be afraid here of taking a nice wide entry. Too greedy on the throttle, too early, the rear end just wanted to slide. Okay, let's take this inside line here. We try it flat out. So 3 laps in and we can't take it flat out. But not only that, look how battered my front left is now. And then that's what could happen. Now I was hoping I didn't do that, so I wanted to approach this corner with speed. So what I will say, if you are up the inside here, lift off, turn in, that'll help you keep a tighter line, then you can get on the power and stay on the power. So that, excuse me, that's what I was saying about if you are on the tighter line, rather than going in flat out and lifting off, lift off earlier, keep the tighter line, and then when you get on the power, you can stay on the power. Okay, I know that this video has gone on for quite some time, but it is a unique track. It is one we haven't raced on very often, and I felt it was worth spending that time to show that to everybody. Right, good luck, have a good one, see you all later.